coffee today. Oh, look at that. Share.
Everyone can hear you who might be hearing you, who's listening. And of course, all the folks that are going to wind up tuning in here today, this morning, are going to be surprised because this is actually
impromptu.
Yeah, it's an impromptu episode of My LoSo Lifestyle with Mary Schepp. And we're going to have a little bit of fun this morning because this is this way because we're doing all kinds of holiday stuff this week and next. Now, everything will be best of next week on 216net, including My LoSo Lifestyle. We're all going to have fun holidays, all that kind of good stuff. But Mary's got some awesome, cool stuff going on this week, which is why we're doing this Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. here on 216net. And, I'll let you go ahead, Mary, and take it away from here. We've got a little recap there of what is healthy, and then we can you can move into the show, but you can even tell them what you're up to this week if you want.
So yeah, that's kind of why we're doing an impromptu today. Hey, look, see my dad. Even he stalks me. That's what dads do. I'm impromptu, and we decided instead of just recording the show, we were going to go live on Facebook and then post.
He's a dad that cares,
for the radio
and that's
everything
awesome.
like that. But because I tried to squeeze everything in and I couldn't do it, but this week I have this afternoon we're doing a Boys and Girls Club event with my store. I know that they're not a sponsor and we don't really do anything, and a lot of people that I know that I work for Office Depot, but they do a lot of community events. And so my whole team, we have a big team of us that does all of this community stuff. So we're doing a Boys and Girls Club event this afternoon, and then tomorrow, exactly when we're doing the show, we cook for the Ronald McDonald House. We did it last week. We're doing it again this week.
That's awesome.
So I have to shop and prepare and help cook for, 40 people.
What are you making?
So tomorrow we're doing burgers. Last week we did beefs. Now here's the cool thing. Speaking of low sodium. So I know that has nothing to do with low sodium. However, I obviously wanted to eat something, and I talked about this a little bit briefly in a previous episodes where, of course, everybody says, let's eat Italian beefs. Mary, you're in charge of cooking because you do food. Like, this is awesome. You guys want me to be in charge of something I can't eat. Like, have you ever seen the prepackaged beefs? They're like 900 milligrams for like 4 ounces, like 3 slivers of beef.
Yeah, they're surprisingly, because I've actually since producing your show for you here, I've actually kind of started paying attention to that stuff.
Right.
Not necessarily on purpose, but it's just like, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of friggin' salt in that.
Yeah. So at last minute, and I had sent a message to my boss. I said, hey, why don't we, in case people don't want beef, or we have the salads and stuff like that, maybe they want just some chicken on their salad. Let's throw in some chicken. So he says, of course, let's do that. So the day of last week when we were cooking and I made chicken, and in my head, I'm going, do I add salt? Do I not add salt? So I was like, all right, well, I brought my own seasoning, so I'm going to make it the way I want to make it. And then I'll decide at the very end, what I want to do with this. And it was my boss who happened to walk by, and I took out the first batch of sauteed chicken that I made, and he steals a bite of it. He's like, man, that's really good. I was like, all right, so it's going no salt. And even later, one of the other managers was like, how is this going to affect you eating all this crap? I'm like, well, this is mine. She said, oh, you made yourself a small batch of chicken? No. the big batch that everybody's eating that nobody's complaining about is low sodium, 100% unsalted, unbrined, seasoned by Mary, fed 40 people, and nobody knew.
And no one knew.
No one knew.
You took care of 40 people, lowered their sodium for a meal.
Yeah.
Nobody knew. Nobody can complain.
And it's funny because speaking of low sodium, and the topic for today's show or tomorrow's show or whatever twilight zone we're in, is herbs and spice and everything nice. And the seasoning blend that I used it's a brand name, but until they actually sponsor my show, I'm not going to talk about them anymore. I'm going to limit my brand throwouts there until I start getting some sponsors.
Yeah.
But
come on,
I know, right?
Yeah.
It is a small company, but they do make good stuff. But you have these certain blends, like Greek blends, Italian blends, Cajun blends, and it's just a standard Greek blend of seasoning. And I use citrus powder. So citrus powder is actually really good on popcorn because it adds a punch, and that acidity almost tricks you into thinking it's salt.
Huh.
and it's not.
It just seems so weird to
I
put
know.
citrus powder on something
Right.
like that
Right.
because
You wouldn't
I
think of
don't
it, but
want orangey
it doesn't. But that's
tasting.
the point of citrus powder. So if you take an orange or a lime or lemon and you take an actual citrus fruit, you're going to get the fruity flavor of it. So grapefruit, orange,
Mhm.
lemon, lime, whatever it is. But if you take citrus powder, it is literally just like acid powder. It's just the acidic portion of the citrus.
Okay, so it doesn't taste
It
like
doesn't give you,
fruit.
no, it doesn't give you that flavor compound of the fruit that you would get.
Huh.
So if it is a seafood or something like that, and you actually want the lemonness or lemony,
Mm.
then yeah, squeeze your lemon, whatever, use lemon zest. But if you're just looking for that acidic punch to trick you into thinking you have salt, you can ever so sparingly, because a little bit goes a long, long way.
Huh.
But you can use citrus powder.
Yeah, I don't like lemon on any kind of meat. Lemon meat should not taste fruity ever.
See, that's
Never.
so that's why I started using citrus powder, because with popcorn or French fries, that it's the smallest little sprinkle of it, and it goes a really, really, really long way.
That's wild.
Mhm.
All right.
But yeah, so the things that people, I mean, everybody thinks they know herbs and spice, and a lot of times you really don't. It's like you wouldn't think to use dill or mint. You would think, I don't want mint in this, or I don't want dill in this. If you've ever eaten pretty much anything Greek, it's got dill and mint in it.
Never really eaten much of anything Greek.
Have you ever been at the Village Squire?
A couple times.
A lot of their, so even I'm not going to be able to pronounce their.
When I've been there, though, all I've ever gotten is like a burger. I don't know, or maybe a Reuben. I don't.
And a lot of, but even
venture
their
off into
seasonings,
stuff.
and it's just funny because a lot of their seasonings, it's a Greek seasoning, and I've even started cooking with a lot more of dill and mint and lavender and stuff like that, because the flavor that it imparts. So it's a lot of fun to experiment with those kinds of things. And for me personally, it's because the look on my husband's face when he's like, what is what does that taste? What does that taste? I don't know that taste. What's that flavor? And he hates what do you call it? Oh, fennel seed. He likes black licorice, but he doesn't like fennel seed. And
is that where the licorice flavor comes from?
A lot of times, fennel in itself is licoricey.
I thought that was like aniseed or something like that.
Aniseed, they are also that licorice flavor. It's the chemical compound and how it's structured that gives it that flavor.
Okay, all right.
So, but it's got like a licorice taste to it. And fennel it's what makes like a red sauce, like a pizza sauce, or what you call it, spaghetti sauce, pasta sauce, bolognese sauce, any Italian red sauce. A lot of times that's what it is the fennel. I don't use a lot of it, but that tiny little bit, just a couple seeds of it, crush it in my hand real quick, throw it in the pot, and it makes a big difference. And the same with dill. A little bit goes a long, long, long way.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So you'd think, I mean, if you put 2 tablespoons of dill in a sauce, it's going to be a dill sauce.
Yeah.
you're gonna have a sauce
on
that
another
tastes like
show,
pickles.
we once had a loaf of dill
The dill
bread,
loaf,
and
such an
that
appropriate show.
was appropriately inappropriate, appropriate for that show.
Mhm.
But it was good. It was really weird because your brain was thinking there should be a friggin' pickle in my mouth, and it's bread,
right?
and it wasn't. It was not bad. It was just
different,
really weird,
right?
And Deke actually got a bit of the actual. There was a big sprig of dill on the top, and he got
that's
like a bit. And
that's hard to take.
Yeah, and he ate it. I think his eyes watered a bit, and I think he said he smelled like a pickle for the rest of the night. But yeah, he powered through. Yeah, dill. You don't need a lot of dill. That's for sure. We learned that firsthand.
Yeah, a little bit goes a long way. And that's the thing is you don't think of those. Same with mint. You don't think of those things to use in a sauce. You think salt, pepper, garlic, cayenne pepper, pepper flake. The things are oregano, parsley. The things in people's spice cabinets are pretty standard fare. So if you find yourself that you like something, if you find an herb blend, an Italian blend, a Greek blend, a whatever, Mr. Dave Smith's seasoning blend, and you like it, and you look at the back of it and you go, holy crap. Unfortunately, with a lot of seasoning blends, because it doesn't change the chemical like the nutritional value to you in seasoning, they don't have to list. So they can put spice blend, because then they don't give up their proprietary blend of seasoning.
Right.
But a lot of times they do list on there, what's in that season blend of, oregano, lavender, whatever it is. So you can kind of copycat, and instead of using something that's been thrown in a jar, you can pull out and use those individually and see how it might flavor something. Like I've discovered that I love straight up pepper and paprika on chicken. Literally, that's it. Pepper, paprika, fry up or grill up my chicken, and that's it. I love it's a either smoked or sweet paprika. And that's the other thing. You've got different variations of each spice.
Huh. So, hey, Gary, good morning from Singapore over there.
Everything I read says Singapore eats a lot of fresh food. I think I would love it there.
You might.
I think I would absolutely love it there.
You might. So, but I think they have like a lot of seafood over there, and I don't do seafood. I just don't.
See, I'm okay with seafood. Because, and I know that everybody says that the lake we grew up on probably killed half of us, and that's probably true. But when I was younger, every time I ate fish in our house, it was because we caught it, scaled it, filleted it, and cooked it that day. So I'd never known, really, we never did fish fry. My parents might have, but when I went to fish fry with them, it was, chicken fingers or whatever I got as a kid. So I didn't eat a whole lot of that. We didn't do that kind of stuff. So all of the fish I ate was fresh fish. And my sister is not good with shellfish, so we never had shellfish in the house because of her allergies. So then when I got older and I bought fish or whatever, and you get this frozen stuff that you got to thaw out, and then it's watery and it falls apart, and it's not, I know it's fresh frozen, but I don't care who you are, it is not the same to catch something and eat it as it is to freeze it and eat it.
I wouldn't imagine it would be.
No.
And I don't mind salmon. It's all right. In fact, I like the Cajun crusted salmon, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I don't mind the occasional beer battered cod, or I'll eat like shrimp, of course, especially you could probably fry almost anything. I'll eat it.
Right.
But shrimp, even if you're just dipping it in a sauce or whatever, that's all right. Crabs are all right. I'd never, ever, ever go out of my way to get crabs. So
yeah, no. And that's the same with me, and that's again with seafood. It's just one of those things where being landlocked. And of course I said that and someone's like, you live like a stone's throw from Lake Michigan. Okay. So when I say landlocked, I do not live next to an ocean.
Yeah. And that's fresh water. Yes. It's not seafood. Yes, no. That's lake food.
And not to say, catfish is really tasty. If you get catfish done right, and you think as a bottom feeder, but I can't
even remember what it tastes like. We had it when I was a kid because my dad would go fishing.
Right.
But I don't remember. I just never ever have been a fan of fish. I just am not.
Yeah, and same with my husband. He'll every once in a blue moon he likes surf and turf, and I'll make garlic. Or we just discovered we saw something called Dijon, and I'm like, it's not coated in mustard. It was essentially the same thing I make, where it's just garlic wine sauce and shrimp. It's really tasty. But I don't make it very often because to get good shrimp is really expensive around here.
So when in talking about, well, you know what, I'm going to let you
herbs
go ahead
de Provence
and go on for herbs de what?
I threw an I in there in my notes, and that was because I was seeing triple last night, and not because I was drinking, but because it's been a few long days. But herbs de Provence is it's just a fancy way to say a French blend. So you have Italian blends, Greek blends. The herbs de Provence is just an herb blend that is common to the area of Provence in France.
Okay.
So this particular blend tends to have a certain savory, marjoram, rosemary, thyme, oregano, and a lot of times they do lavender. I personally like the ones with lavender leaves included. It's
lavender is
yeah.
You cook with that?
Mm-hmm. And it's
that's like
lavender oil has been really popular.
I thought you just That's
No.
like a smell thing, a scent thing.
So same with dandelions. Everybody think it's just a weed.
Well,
Dandelion wine is fabulous. So literally, if you go to the grocery store and you go in the mixed greens, if you pay attention to the package and it says spring greens and dandelion greens,
I know my wife gets those for her rabbit.
but the dandelion greens that you can buy for your salad in the grocery store is literally the same freaking thing that you're trying to
But-
kill in your front yard.
I mean,
So if you could go
do
pick the
people actually eat
Yeah.
those? I thought that was just like
No.
they're on purpose for
No.
rabbits and
No,
such.
it literally, if you went out in your front yard and picked the leaves off the dandelion plants and washed them, that is the same stuff you're paying $5 for at the grocery store. I kid you not.
Well,
There's
that's-
fields of it that they grow it. And the same with the
Huh.
flower heads. We used to, up in Michigan with my family, his name was Ferd. I'm assuming it was Ferdinand,
Okay.
but Ferd made wine. He was a hoarder. His house was full. There was little paths to get everywhere, but his basement where he did his wine was spotless. And the barrels and the
Priorities.
cat. I know
Priorities,
it was,
right?
I mean, stacks of newspaper, and you literally had this, like there was a little spot on the couch with crap. It was like a neat organized. It wasn't the dirty hoarder where there's like 7 feet of cat poop. So it was neat and clean, and he was very clean, but
He just never
that was
threw
the first
anything
plan
away. He
I
just
had.
kept
Yeah,
everything.
rose wine, dandelion wine. Oh, it was so tasty. But the herbs de Provence, the flavor component that it adds, and that's what I used on the chicken. And it's that added with that little bit of citrus powder. So the citrus acts as the salt. And then
Okay.
that herbs de Provence adds a flavor that you normally wouldn't get. And it's light, but it's strong enough to wake up your palate. So it works really well with just about anything chicken. So I use it quite a bit.
Huh.
And then of course, Greek blends, it's very similar, but instead of lavender, they use mint or dill or fennel. So depending on which region you go to is determined what spice blends they typically use. And you have the ones that are pretty common across everybody: oregano, bay leaf, salt, pepper, garlic. Those are pretty common across everybody.
Yeah.
But it's the unique ones: the dill, the fennel, the lavender, the marjoram, the savory. And you wouldn't think of savory like you think of savory as an adjective to describe something, not necessarily an actual
Right.
herb, but it is an
Savor-
actual
That's
herb.
an actual herb.
It is an
Okay.
actual herb.
So I
And
just
marjoram,
thought,
you think
it's
of
a
marjoram is
savory-
butter. Marjoram is an actual spice.
Okay.
It's also a fat, but it's it's also a spice. So they're two different things.
Huh. Okay.
That are the same exact, but it's those are the kinds of things where you look at it or the different blends. Like I said, with paprika, you can get a smoked versus a sweet paprika, and depending on the region you get them from,
Yeah.
determines how good they are. So when I made my cinnamon rolls, and we talked about those because everybody chastised me that they aren't healthy. Well, they're low sodium, and I was going to eat them.
You don't have a cinnamon roll for health conscious
Right,
reasons.
right.
You just don't. There are some foods that you don't consume
Yeah.
because they are healthy.
Yeah. And I found a way to make it low sodium, so I ate the crap out of them.
All right.
But I discovered that what it was missing when I was trying to make it taste like the famous Cinnabons, which, not gonna lie, they're delicious, but they're, salted and whatever, was the cinnamon.
Okay.
Every other component, the quality of the item that you're cooking with, and spices don't necessarily go bad, they lose their potency. So if you start with something that's really spicy or really strong, or an oregano or whatever blend, 10 years from now, you can still use it. You just have to use a lot more of it.
Yeah, it's just not going to be as strong as
Right.
it was.
It
when
loses
was
its fragrance.
fresh
The
or
oils and the leaves
not
dry out,
fun.
the whole 9 yards, all that stuff. And the other one, if you can, so here's when you talk about spice. So spice, I never could do spice. I never liked spice. And I shouldn't say I didn't like it. I like the flavor, but I couldn't handle the heat. I couldn't handle the
All right.
capsaicin. Now that I don't have salt, and of course that's what everybody said: try spice, try spice. I don't like spice. I don't want spice. But after a while of bland food, you're like, all right, I'm going to try a little spice. So I slowly, as I started, and I still can't handle nearly as much as my husband. The man puts habanero peppers on his salad like they're chunks of apple. But I can handle a lot more than what I used to be able to handle. And it is true. And a lot of it's like a citrusy component. It's the same concept where that heat or that punch is the same punch that you get from salt. So you can trick yourself almost into the same flavors. And once you've had it for long enough, I don't notice the difference. So there's still certain things, like I said, like a nice slice of tomato from my garden. There's still nothing that's going to replace a couple sprinkles of salt on a tomato.
Well,
It's
yeah,
just not gonna happen.
a nice big juicy tomato sliced up, put on some toast with some mayo
Right.
and a little salt. And you
Tomato
gotta,
sandwiches.
you
Oh,
gotta,
tomato sandwiches are tasty.
yeah,
Yeah,
so that's that's good stuff.
it really is.
And I love spicy food, but I have to be very careful with it now. I mean, I used to eat it like ad nauseum, like if something didn't make me
Oh, hey,
make my
Deb.
eyes water, it wasn't spicy enough.
Right.
Eyes water is nose run. It's not spicy enough
That's
if it
how
doesn't do that.
So like with wasabi, I think it's the funniest thing, and I want to record it and put it on YouTube because I'd probably be some famous idiot just videotapes of my husband eating spicy stuff, because we'll have wasabi and or mustard, the spicy Chinese mustard,
Uh-huh.
and he'll get angry because he's like, I know the burn in the back of my brain. It's not. I'm like, how is
But
how is it that you're upset that it doesn't feel like somebody hit you in the back of the head with a sledgehammer when you ate this mustard because it wasn't
that's
spicy
when
enough?
the flavor is there.
And that's what I can't do. See, to me, it burns
See-
out my palate.
Oh no.
And I can't taste anything else.
No.
Like my tongue's on fire and now I just can't taste anything.
Oh no.
So I can't do it.
It's that's when the flavor, the real flavor comes when you get that burn.
Yeah.
And it's quite frankly, it's just worth it. It doesn't last forever. Grab a glass of milk and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
there's I think it's a show called Hot Ones that we watch all the time. And that's exactly what it is.
That.
Oh, you should look him up. He's hilarious. And again, a plug for another show. Maybe they'll find my show. They have a line of hot sauces. I think it's like 5 or 10 hot sauces that they have, whatever. And they go through and they try them. There's different levels, and each hot wing in front of them has that corresponding hot sauce on it. And he does it with a famous person. So whatever famous celebrity that he can get on his show, he had like Shia LaBeouf on recently and different stuff, and they taste all these hot sauces, and that's exactly, so by the end of it you can see them like, whoo.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and it's like the beginning light hot sauce
I'll
is
have to
more
look
than
that
I can.
up.
Oh, it's hilarious. But some people are really good at it, and I always think of the host going, dude, this guy does this every single show, and he goes through all of those hot sauce because he eats it with you. He doesn't just watch you suffer. It's 1 for 1 all the way up, and you talk about it, and it's an interview while you're eating hot sauce. So that's what makes it awesome. But I can't. So I do, and I have seen and I've experienced that, hot sauce does add flavor, and it does add almost like a salted component. And that's what everybody's looking for when you're wanting something that's not bland. You need something that's strong enough to, essentially give you that kick, that punch, the proverbial punch in the mouth that a salt gives you is, a spice or an acid. So you can cut away from that. And instead of trying to find a fake salt, which is usually just as bad for you, you can substitute that with an herb or a spice, very, very successfully, as I've proven just about by anything I've fed anybody.
Huh.
And I've had a couple rare misses. There was a couple that went right in the garbage. Those are always fun to watch when my husband is sitting there and he just shovels it in and there's no seconds. That's usually when he's going. So it was edible and I ate it because I need sustenance. But we're not going to put that one on the menu next time.
But also probably because you made it. Because I will, if my wife goes through the trouble of making something, I will never, ever not eat it.
Right.
I might, if it's something that I'm just like,
right.
I might not finish it all the way.
Right. Same.
And I might.
He'll eat like a quarter of it and be like, okay, I ate enough to respect you.
You're right.
The rest is going in the garbage.
If she took the time to put something together and put it in front of me, I love when food appears in front of me. Same. And I had to do nothing.
And it always tastes better.
Oh, I don't care what it is. Yeah, and now
tomato sandwich. It's tomatoes and a piece of bread and mayonnaise, and it still tastes better if somebody else makes it.
If she put a plate of Brussels sprouts and bananas in front of me, I
3
would
bites
probably
and
say, I appreciate the effort, but I'm going to go ahead and take this back. I'll take
right,
care of the plate and I'll make something for myself. I'll go put my own effort in.
right.
But
Yeah, no.
I couldn't do that. So at this point, we want to say a few words from some folks that let us do what we do here at 21.6 the net. And those folks, there are awesome, wonderful partners here. And we love the folks over at, well, speaking of food, Stuckey's Family Restaurant, 815-331-8050, Stuckey's Bar and Grill.com. That's GRILLE.com. Now, there you can get all American cuisine made from scratch every day. Now, for their fabulous breakfast buffet, including made to order omelets and the best biscuits and gravy around, so I'm told, visit them Sundays from 7:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Stuckey's is easy to find at 4000 North Johnsburg Road, Johnsburg, Illinois, and they share the same parking lot with Angelo's Supermarket there. Stuckey's Family Restaurant, 815-331-8050, Stuckey's Bar and Grill.com, and that's GRILLE.com. Then, of course, McHenry Villa, a senior living community, 815-344-0246. McHenry Villa is committed to the core values of hospitality, stewardship, integrity, respect, and humor. At McHenry Villa, their goal is to make you feel comfortable at home. McHenry Villa, a senior living community, 815-344-0246, McHenryVilla.com. And we'll mention for them one more time that actually tomorrow, December 19th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., over at 3516 West Waukegan Road, McHenry, Illinois, 60050 if you need the zip for your GPS. McHenry Villa is hosting a Jingle Mingle. They'll have refreshments, appetizers, photos with Santa, and music by John Ludi. So go hang out with them tomorrow, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., right over there again, 3516 West Waukegan Road, McHenry, Illinois. And you can also give them a quick call to RSVP and talk to them about it. Again, 815-344-0246. Now, let's get on back to Mary Schepp with My LoSo Lifestyle. And I think coming up, you've got info about citrus alliums, the Maillard reaction, and reductions.
Yeah, citrus is like I said with the citrus powder. I love citrus powder. And Sean, who is the owner of our Shaking the Salt group, that's got most of a huge following. I mean, there's probably, I think, 15,000 people in that group now for low sodium.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, Shaking the Salt is a great place to go for just about anything you need and any question you need answered. It's where I went when I first, because it's not so much a support group, but it is a support group. So it's not a boohoo club. So
Okay.
if you're looking for a boohoo club, it's the wrong place to go. But if you're looking for advice on low sodium, that is exactly the place to go. Which
Cool.
Deb is, who's watching right now. She's one of the people she's one of my fellow admins. But citrus powder is one he turned me onto, and he turned a lot of us onto. To start, it was to make popcorn.
Okay.
Because popcorn's a really hard one. It's such a bland. I mean, you're essentially eating popcorn for the stuff that's put on it. You're not eating. I mean, come on, let's face it. You're not eating popcorn because you want to eat popcorn.
No, you want to eat popcorn because it's full of butter, full of salt,
right?
Full of butter, a little bit more salt, and then some more butter, and make sure you put some butter on it.
Right, and then spray it with butter at the end.
Yeah.
Maybe a little cheese. But that's the thing, is the citrus powder. And I had tried everything, and there's a Fiesta lime spice, and again, it's got citrus powder in it. So I always wondered what the kick was, and I just assumed it came from the lime, like the actual lime, but it's citrus powder. It just happens to be a lime citrus powder. So you skip like I said before, you skip the fruit flavorness, so it doesn't give you a fruity, because not everything wants that fruitiness on it, and you just get that citrus. The other thing is when you zest, so if you use the zest of a lemon, lime, orange, if you're looking for the orange flavor or the lime flavor or the grapefruit flavor, the zest is where you're going to get it, because all of the oils are in the peel. So if you ever watch a slow motion of someone zesting an orange or something like that for like a bartending thing or whatever, you can actually see the oils spray off of an orange. It is just loaded with oil. And that's where all the flavor and the smell and all the components come from.
Okay. Yeah.
So if I'm I made a lemon basil chicken potato bake thing the other day, and it was literally a box of basil leaves and lemon zest.
Huh. And potatoes?
Yeah, chunked up chicken, sliced potatoes. I did my typical wine sauce, which is just reduced wine, onions, garlic, and then the zest of lemon
Huh.
and basil, and threw it on a big pot and baked it in some citrus powder.
Huh.
But that was it. That was all it was.
So I would never, ever, ever think to put lemon in something like that.
Mm-hmm. And it turns out amazing. It really does. It was my husband always is the final vote, and he puts it, this one's going on the list, and this one's sure, if you ever made it again, I'll eat it again. But when he comments on something that this one's a keeper, this is going in the roster. And whenever I'm like, you want something for dinner? What do you want? I'm tired and I'm super hungry and can't think of what to make. And he throws something out. It's usually something that's in that roster, like the potato bake or ropa vieja. He likes when I make ropa vieja, but of course that's not a 2-minute dish. That's a ropa vieja translates to old clothes or torn clothes. So it's essentially,
I remember you talking about that before.
You cook beef or pork down to the point where it's literally just shredded like a pair of blue jeans.
Okay.
And put it over rice. It's really tasty. But that citrus, so the zest is fantastic for something like that. So if I don't want the lemon juice, because the lemon juice itself or lime juice or citrus juice can curdle things because of the acidity. So if you have anything, if you're making a cream sauce, or if there's a lot of butter, or if there's something in there, the nature, the chemical nature of milk and the way it's structured, and actually Alton Brown just did a show about this not too long ago, how acid will curdle it, and it will literally split everything and it'll ruin your sauce. So if you want the lemon or citrus flavor without curdling or breaking your sauce, then you use lemon zest. So you get the same punch of flavor without a big gloppy cottage cheese style sauce, which nobody really wants.
Well, I like cottage cheese though,
but not as if someone gave you Alfredo and it looked like cottage cheese instead of Alfredo, you'd be like,
what's wrong with
this
that?
looks like
It
it's
might taste all right, but I'd be like,
yeah. And that's the thing about broken sauces is, other than a textural thing of being broken, they taste the same. The flavors are there.
Yeah,
it's just
it would just kind of look it would be off-putting.
Yes, it is, and it's funny because whenever my sauce breaks at home, and my husband's like, I don't know, you just shove it in his mouth. He's like, it still tastes good. Like it just pisses me off. So I'm like, I know it's just me and you, and there's no one to cry to the chef. But damn it, I wanted a perfect sauce. I wanted something I could put on the Food Network. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that, because it's cool when food does look nice. When it looks, because I'll cook for myself, and what I usually cook for myself, no one else eats. So I don't really care what it looks like so much, as long as it's going to taste the way I want it to taste. But when you're serving something up to someone, you do, even if it's just at home, you want a little presentation. And see, my wife is incredibly good at that. She always, everything she makes looks very appetizing. It looks fantastic,
and it does make it feel like you're out to dinner or something. It makes it makes it feel better.
It's that effort that she puts in there. And hey, Kristen, how you doing? When she puts the effort into anything, it's just that's a sincerely appreciated gesture, because she didn't have to do it. I'm a grown ass man. I can go cook for myself. But when she does that, puts the effort in, and even makes the effort to make it look nice. That's, to me, that's just very, very remarkable, because she didn't have to do that.
Same way. Yeah. My husband feels the same way.
Yeah.
And it's funny because every once in a while when someone's around or we have company or whatever, and they always tend to comment on the manners that my husband and I have. And it was years ago that one of my friends had commented, because Ben had said something, I think I made him a drink or something, and he had said thank you.
Well, yeah, as you would.
My friend's kid was like, did you just say thank you for everything? Well, of course he's a kid, so he's thinking like, oh my God, this is exhausting. But even the simple things, when it's just the two of us, it's amazing how far manners go, where it's, thanks for dinner.
Well, it's just consideration. I always say thank you anytime she does. And then when you get up, like, because we got rid of our our actual dining. We haven't had an actual dining table in a long time. In fact, we gave our last one to our middle son when he moved to the city and got an apartment. But when if she's cooked, I say, hey, thank you for cooking. I
Mhm.
appreciate it every time
Same.
because she doesn't have to do that.
Right.
And then when we're done, oh, can I get your plate? Can I get
Yep.
your tray? Can I get your whatever it is?
And
And
that same thing. I thank him for doing the dishes.
it's and
He
I
doesn't
can't
have to help
remember
me.
the last time I've actually done a dish.
Yeah,
To be
I
fair,
cook, he does
we
the
have a
dishes.
dishwasher, so
Well,
I try to
he's
remember
OCD, so
to
he likes to
scrub
do.
pans and stuff that maybe don't go in there.
Yeah.
I'm not always great about that. If I'm,
Yeah, no,
sometimes,
I hate
and
dishes.
I'm not allowed to do laundry because I
Me neither.
messed that up.
Same. Would you think that as the wife in the family that I'd be the no? If I touch the washing machine, I get funny looks.
Mhm.
I just don't do it right because I don't use any of the settings. I don't care. It goes in the machine. I hit start.
Yeah.
Like I'm whatever. But that's a whole other show.
Yeah,
That's a what's
yeah,
in your loaf topic.
yeah.
Manners and laundry.
Manners and laundry. We'll put that on the board over there. Sorry, let's
So
get back on track here. We
this
chased a
one,
squirrel.
yeah, I know, right? Ooh, squirrel.
What
Piece
are
of candy.
alliums? What are alliums?
Alliums. Um, alliums are my favorite thing ever. They really are, and I will eat lots of them. Um, it is a genus of plant that includes hundreds of species, including onions, garlics, scallions, shallots, leeks, and chives. So pretty much all of those things that you can think of, all of the bulb type things. And you wouldn't think of like a scallion, you think this long wispy green thing that's chopped and put on top of a dip or a piece of fish or something like that. Underneath the scallion is an onion. So, or a garlic. So you have garlic scallions and you have onion scallions. So there's a bulb in the ground, and then the sprouty onion leaf part is the scallion part, or the chive.
Okay, all right.
So when
And
you
I know what
have
chives are. I've
yeah,
had chives. I
yeah,
like chives.
yeah, chives are the little itty bitty thin ones, and the same. You have onion chives and garlic chives, and then you've got your scallions, which are a little bit thicker, that you see very commonly. And at the bottom of the scallion is a little itty bitty tiny onion bulb. And that's the really potent part. And then the top part is the more mild flavored onion or garlic. And the one thing that I don't think people realize, both alliums and peppers, I shouldn't say just those two, pretty much everything on the face of the planet, even wine, especially wine, the flavor comes from the soil and the air and the environment around it. So dependent on where it's grown, how it's grown, the temperature, all of those things affect the flavor. So with garlic and onions, the sulfate compound in the soil determines its potency. So how strong of an onion, how mild of an onion. So like Vidalia onions that everybody knows when summer comes around, that are super sweet. And you get the Georgia Vidalia onions. It's purely the soil in which they're grown and the temperature at which they're grown that makes them so sweet. Because if you get a good Vidalia onion, you can literally eat it like an apple. There's no onion flavor to it. It is
people
super,
do that, and
super
I think,
sweet.
Ew.
Well, that's because you're thinking of an onion that makes you cry.
Oh yeah.
And even like last week when we were cooking for the Ronald McDonald House, and everybody, I had pounds of onions that because we were making beef. So you have peppers and onions with beef.
Right. Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah, really, I thought I'd be bawling my eyes out. I'm like, well, I picked an onion that wasn't going to make everybody cry because I didn't think we wanted 15 people standing here crying over onions.
In the Ronald McDonald House.
And everyone looked at me like, what do you mean? You're right,
mood.
right.
You know?
Like they need a reason to cry. So it was just funny because everybody looked at me like, what do you mean you can buy onions that don't make you cry? Well, of course you can buy onions that don't make you cry. And of course, to me, it's common sense.
I had no idea.
Right. And again, that goes back to my argument that common sense is just accumulation of your own experiences and perspective over your life.
Yeah.
To me, it's common sense because I know onions and garlic and I love them. And I get, there's Garlic Underground, which sounds like a seedy, bad, cult, but it's actually a company. It's a farm
or a
here
cool
locally,
nightclub.
Right?
Yeah.
That sells garlic, and we do a lot of their printing, and they bring me garlic on a regular basis, and it's fantastic. And they'll tell me which blend that they are bringing. So, this is a spicy one, this is a mild one, this is a whatever one. And it's fantastic because depending on what they bring me, Depends on what I make.
Okay.
But with garlic and onion and a lot of things, it's fresh versus cooked or roasted, because that's going to walk us right into our next topic, which is the Maillard. So it looks like mallard or
Right.
Maillard.
Yeah, I think I said Maillard or Maillard.
Maillard is the reaction. It is a chemical reaction between amino acids and reducing sugars that gives browned food its distinctive flavor. So seared foods, fried foods, roasted foods, all undergo this reaction. So when you think
Okay.
of a seared steak,
Yeah.
and if you sear a steak properly without any salt or pepper or anything, and a lot of good chefs will rely on the quality of the beef, the farm it came from, and they will sear it and cook it properly and then put what's called a finishing salt. So like a pink salt or a Celtic salt, where it's got the large salt flakes over the top to amplify that Maillard reaction flavor or umami, to give you that's why you go to a good steakhouse and they don't need to marinate. They don't need, and they can dry age their steaks where it's literally just enhancing the flavor of the beef itself. But it's not restricted to beef. So if you're going to roast, if you want vegetables, or someone like you who doesn't like Brussels sprouts, or you don't like carrots, you don't like this, that, or the other.
I don't mind carrots, peas, corn.
I love peas.
I don't think
I can
corn's
probably eat those
considered
right
a
out of the can.
vegetable.
If Denise was watching, she'd make fun of my
I mean-
peas, because every time I cook something, she's like, "Oh, where's the green bits?" Because I put green
And
bits in
some
everything.
green beans are all right.
I
Like
love
my
green
wife
beans.
makes some that are okay.
I do a bourbon green bean, that is sauteed green beans with onions and reduced bourbon and honey.
That sounds like an awful lot of effort for a bean.
It's not actually, you think it would be, but it's literally a shot of bourbon and some honey, and then you just let it cook in the pan for 3-5 minutes until it reduces down and cooks out the alcohol, and it's just nice smoky bourbon honey flavored beans. So it's not that hard at all. Okay. But that's where the Maillard reaction
sounds fancy though.
So if you, and I like raw garlic. So the dip I brought that you guys loved was citrus powder and raw garlic, is what gave it that potency to make it taste like it was flavored with salt, and it wasn't, or salt packet.
Yeah, that dip was good.
It the bowl that I made for us did not last nearly as long as the bowl you guys had. But in your defense, you guys forgot that it was in the fridge.
We did.
Because it was half gone, and it looked like you guys ate half of it and then said, okay, we got to put it away before we eat all of it, and then forgot that it was in there.
It's exactly what happened. Your powers of deduction are very good. But that's exactly what happened.
The worst about that is when you open the fridge a week later and you're like, oh, now I want dip.
That's
and it's
exactly
bad.
what happened.
Like you're old, because now it's bad and it's like growing a creature, and you're like, oh crap, now I want dip.
We're like, oh dang, I forgot that in there.
But that's where, so if you're not a vegetable lover, if you roast the vegetables, that Maillard reaction, so you get that flavor. So if you throw in, Brussels sprouts with some garlic and some onions, and you roast it, that browning or that Maillard reaction that happens to the sugars and the amino acids in the food changes the flavor compound. And like with garlic, if you eat a chunk of garlic, it's really spicy. Yeah, even mild garlic has got a spice to it.
My mom, who is not a good cook, and I'll never forget, this is like 30 friggin' years ago, made some stew. Then she used garlic cloves. Mm-hmm. She did not know that you're supposed to mush those up. Mm-hmm. She just threw a clove in there, and it was like this stew with a little bit of noodle stuff. It was weird, and I didn't realize it was very translucent. I just thought it was a noodle. So I went, and I ate an entire clove, that little thing, and I'm like,
yeah,
and it was literally just
dragon fire.
Yeah, that, and it's not like spicy hot. It's just like
it kicks you.
Yeah, and depending, hard, and I'll never forget that. And that's 30 freaking years ago.
And depending on the garlic species or vein or whatever you get and where you grow it from, and that's why I said peppers are the same. So when we grow peppers in our garden, and we'll get ones where this year we had a couple of the jalapeno peppers that were just, even my husband was like, holy crap, these are like, he can eat habaneros and ghost peppers, and the jalapenos, which are supposed to be a milder pepper, were kicking his butt. And it was because of the amount of heat that they had. So tomatoes, same thing. They like the sun. So if they have enough water without sitting in water, so they're not going to rot.
Yeah.
So their roots have the water that they need. And then the plant itself, the leaves in this tomatoes get a lot of direct warm heat, sunshine, almost like a greenhouse,
Okay.
which is what gives you, and obviously again, what the components in the soil. So we started adding Epsom salt, which is just magnesium, to which again we had
You
that was
can
a whole
eat
other
that?
show. Yep.
I thought that was like stuff you threw in a bath.
Same. But you need magnesium for your diet, same as you need sodium and potassium and all those things, and you need magnesium. So you can actually eat Epsom salt. But you got again,
Huh.
another thing you got to be careful with.
Okay. Another show,
Yeah.
another time. We'll get more into that.
But it depending on what's in the soil depends on how it tastes. So when you take that garlic, and if you roast it, so there's actually a restaurant, the Squire cuts the top of a whole head of garlic. So you've got 20 cloves or so, whatever, in there, and you just slice the head of the garlic off, put it on a piece of tin foil, little drizzle of olive oil, and if you want some heat or spice or something, you can put some red pepper flake on it, and just seal it up in some foil, roast it for 45 minutes, and you can literally squeeze all of those garlic cloves out of that head of garlic like butter and just smear it on toast. And it's a garlic spread. It's the spice is gone. And because of that, that reaction that happens when you cook stuff and roast stuff, it becomes a sweet garlic flavor. So it's still garlic. It's still potent. It's still a lot. But it literally is like the world's most perfect garlic butter.
Huh.
So, and the same with onions. My husband and I do this all summer long. His dad got us started on it, where you take, same thing, a piece of tin foil, you take an onion, you peel the outer peelies off and get just the onion bit, cut the top and bottom so you have a flat top and bottom. I'll actually core out just the smallest little hole, put a garlic clove, a bit of jalapeno pepper, and some oil, and seal it up, throw it on the grill with all the other stuff I'm grilling for 45 minutes, almost like a baked potato. And we will eat it like a baked potato. That whole onion is yours.
Wow.
It's not like we're not going to put the onion on top of something else. We just eat the whole onion as a side ourselves, and it's fabulous. It's sweet and tasty, and it does not taste like a spicy onion at all. It's amazing. So anything garlic, onion. Same with leeks, you can, or which is just another onion. So if you see people cooking leeks and stuff on TV or scallions, you can throw them on the grill, some olive oil and some spice.
I've seen people do that.
Yeah. It's super tasty.
I'm not much of one of doing that sort of thing. I mean, I do mostly, I don't really do, my wife grills, I smoke. Like I have a couple of smokers and I'm much more of,
I've never tried the smoked onion, but I know you can do it with garlic.
I've never thrown onions in with meat. That I'm throwing potatoes and a few other things. Like corn, I love smoking corn. I really do. Corn on a cob, that's really good. But again, on another entire show, maybe sometime we can do, or you can do rather, as your show, talk about smoking and grilling low sodium. I don't know if that's possible.
See, it is, and I love grilling. I grill a lot. My husband and I haven't grilled so much as of late. Partially because our sliding glass door needs to be replaced and it's a pain to open. So we've been kind of snotty about it, but, we do grill a lot. I don't smoke a lot only because when I was younger, I had way too many over smoked dishes. So I got put off on smoke. So it's just an off-putting flavor to me now. So I don't do it. My husband loves smoked stuff though.
You mentioned Alton Brown a bit ago.
I love Alton Brown.
See, I learned a tip from him. It's no matter what you're smoking, generally, as a general rule, 1 hour per pound plus one more hour. And it works. I've never not had, following that rule on the low heat, low smoke, I've never had something not turn out really good.
That's fantastic. I think this is probably going to be the year that we might start, just because I know my husband likes it. So I don't mind making stuff that my husband likes, and then toning it. Like he likes spicy food. So like my meatloaf, I put Rotel in, which has got a spice to it. So my meatloaf has got a little bit of a back end kick. And it's super tasty, but it's right on the cusp of my level of heat, but it gives him the heat that he wants, and it's still edible for me. And it's the same with smoking. So I think I'm going to try smoking this year just to get a little bit closer.
Because Rotel is not, I mean, Rotel is good. The little Rotel
It's
tomatoes
a
that get
mild
tossed
spice.
in. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's. I've never heard of somebody putting it in a meatloaf. That
It's really
probably
good.
would be good.
It is really tasty.
Now we're coming up on just about the 6 minute, 6 minute, 5 minute mark here, and I know you've got reductions down here that we
Yes.
haven't really gotten into yet.
So that, as I've heard, or people have heard me talk about a lot, with my infamous wine sauce, which isn't really a sauce. It's just a flavoring component to reduce a wine. In cooking is not a new thing. It's a very, very, very old thing. It's old French cooking. It's cooking 101 to do balsamic reductions and wine reductions. The average home cook, though, is typically terrified of those kinds of things because they think it's a chefy thing. Like you have to be a chef, you have to be a cook to be able to do those things. And it's really not. It's like leaving a pot of water on the stove to boil and forgetting about it. I mean, you can over reduce it and it becomes a syrup.
Yeah.
But and for those, because I have a lot of people ask me, can you use something other than wine? Because my go-to is always a Pinot Grigio white wine. And so I'll saute onions and a little bit of garlic just till it's fragrant, or you can start to smell the oils come off of the onions and garlic. And a little tiny bit. I use grapeseed oil, just because it's not as strong of a flavor as olive oil, so it doesn't flavor my dish.
Okay.
And it's still a good oil or good fat, if as good as, and that was our last healthy episode, is about good fats, bad fats. But you saute it till it's just fragrant. I add one of those little mini bottles. You can buy them in 4-packs. I mean, you can measure out 6 ounces from a bottle of wine if you actually have wine in your house. But typically the reason why people are asking me to use something other than wine is because if you do have an alcohol addiction, then you don't have alcohol in your house at all. There's no temptation. There's no, I can buy a little bottle, because if you are an addict, then the chances are if you buy a little 6-ounce bottle of wine, some of it's going in your mouth.
I haven't even ever thought of that.
Yeah. So and the common misconception is that when you cook wine or alcohol, that the alcohol burns off. That is not true. So when they, like Saganaki, the flaming cheese, the Greek flaming cheese, when they light that on fire, because it's just Greek cheese with a shot of bourbon.
Well, that's just the alcohol burning,
Right.
isn't it?
It's no, it's the vapor.
Oh, it's okay.
So it's just
All
the
right.
initial alcohol vapor that burns off, and then the alcohol itself will continue to burn, and they blow it out. Because if they sat there with that plate and waited for the alcohol to burn off, they'd be sitting there for a very long time. Now it does, right. 45 minutes later, they're still got burning.
Eventually.
Yes, right. And even with stews and stuff like that. So it does significantly reduce the amount of alcohol, because the longer it cooks, yes, the alcohol does cook out and evaporate because it boils at a different temperature, so on and so forth. But the common misconception is that if you cook it, you've got, boom, 2 seconds later and all the alcohol's burned off. That is not true. Now, if you have a stew that you've cooked for 3 hours in a Dutch oven, chances are the majority of the alcohol has been cooked off. But it's one of those things. So people do look for substitutes, and you can use a stock, like a chicken stock, a vegetable stock. And if you can get unsugared, like literally unadulterated, just straight up cranberry juice or grape juice, it's bitter because you
haven't sweetened it.
Right. People don't realize how not sweet juice. So if you orange juice, apple juice, grape juice, cranberry juice, if you get this straight up juice, it is not sweet. It is not. If you drink it on a regular basis, you will start to taste the sweet components. The same as now that I don't have salt. If I drink an actual Coca-Cola or something, it is salty to me because it's got 70 milligrams of salt in it. So I can taste that now. But when you do the wine reduction, the flavor that it pulls out and it adds to things, it enhances the flavor and helps it taste salted to me. So that combined with a Maillard. So if I do that wine reduction and I sear whatever vegetable or protein I'm cooking, that's what gives my dishes the salted component that they're looking for without actually having them. So it makes the big difference.
That's cool.
Same with balsamic. You can reduce a balsamic vinegar to get more of that pungent flavor. And even chicken stocks and broths, if you reduce them down, it almost creates like a gravy.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely fantastic, and that's always been my trick for potency and things.
Cool. Well, we got just about maybe a hair less than a minute. So why don't you tell everybody how they can find out more about My LoSo Lifestyle and you, Mary Schepp?
So obviously you can find us on 216the.net. You can download the app so you can listen to us. Plays a couple times a week, and we're live on Thursdays typically. Obviously not this week, but typically we're live on Thursdays at 11 a.m. We're also on 216the.net YouTube. You can download that. Subscribe to the channel, support us, and then my own personal, which is My LoSo Lifestyle, my Facebook page where all my recipes are housed, and My LoSo Lifestyle YouTube. You can also find all of the playbacks of the videos as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful, happy holiday. And let's see, My LoSo Lifestyle will be back maybe January 2nd.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We might. I don't know if we're gonna have a show
Maybe,
next week or not.
January
We'll see.
2nd but definitely January 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Thursday, January 9th for sure. All right. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everybody. Take care.
I like my little song. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. Good show. And it's funny because I was talking to my husband about